Our ancestors had very varied tastes because they ate things like game meat and crunchy insects, and even engaged in cannibalism. Hello fellow time travelers, we hope you enjoy this delicious trip through the strange world of ancient meals. You are about to be surprised as we look into what our caveman ancestors ate and how they satisfied their hunger. Keep watching to find out some hidden secrets of what people ate in the prehistoric era and prepare to be amazed, shocked, and even to shudder. Human history is highly fascinating, and experts have been researching, examining, and discussing it for a very long time. Our knowledge and comprehension of new discoveries both help us better grasp how humans first appeared on the planet. According to current scientific theory, humans descended from an ancestor approximately 6 to 7 million years before who was associated with other apes, including chimpanzees and bonobos. This ancestor is believed to have resided in Africa. Humans have undergone numerous physical and behavioral changes over the course of millions of years. Some of our oldest ancestors, such as Australopithecus afarensis, popularly referred to as the well-known skeleton Lucy, had characteristics shared by humans and apes. Our predecessors evolved and acquired new capabilities throughout time, such as larger brains, the capacity to walk on both feet, and improved tool-making abilities. Thanks to these developments, early individuals were able to adjust to their shifting environment and ultimately spread to other regions of the planet. Approximately 2 to 3 million years earlier, the genus Homo, comprising modern humans, Homo sapiens, initially appeared. The earliest member of the Homo genus is Homo habilis, which is Latin for handyman. They are regarded to be the first known species of Homo. The stone tool making ability of Homo habilis distinguishes them from other species of humans. Their capacity for tool making and their larger brains were significant evolutionary advances that paved the way for succeeding Homo species, including Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, and more. Most Homo habilis men live in the old African desert. Every morning, the Homo habilis man would get up from his simple home made of sticks and animal skins. He would leave for his daily gathering trip with all of his senses fully awake. His food was mostly made up of fruits, nuts, and plants that could be eaten that grew in his lush surroundings. The Homo habilis man found picking ripe fruit from low-hanging branches to be easy. He loved the taste of sweetness and how it made his tongue feel. His tribe avoided eating any potentially harmful plants since they had been taught which ones were safe to consume. Plant-based foods were very important to his diet, but he was also very good at hunting small game. Homo habilis people would hunt and catch small animals like rabbits, birds, and snakes with simple stone tools. He was able to kill the animals and get their healthy meat because he had tools like cut stones and bones. The Homo habilis man and his group ate together at mealtime. They would gather around a fire that was blazing, and the warm light would make their faces glow. The group had learned that fire could keep them warm, keep them safe, and make their food taste better. To make the meat easier to digest, they would roast it, which would bring out the flavors and release the fat. When the Homo habilis man ate, he would sit on the ground with his legs crossed and enjoy the mix of juicy meat and the earthy tastes of roasted roots and vegetables. They were able to share stories, advice, and laughs in a community setting, which made the ties between them stronger. The Homo habilis man was smart in more ways than just hunting and gathering. He also got better at making tools, which helped him with his daily tasks. Not only did he use his stone tools to kill animals, but also to crack open nuts and pound potatoes so they were easy to eat. It's likely that Homo habilis man consumed bugs as well. Insects are a convenient source of food that are rich in protein as well as other vital nutrients. Although there is not much direct evidence that humans consumed insects throughout the Paleolithic period, archaeological research has provided us with several theories. For instance, ancient human feces known as coprolites have included insect remnants. This demonstrates that there were insects in the meal. Insect parts have also been discovered on antique instruments like stone grinders and pestles, indicating that insects may have been handled and consumed. With the day coming to an end, the Homo habilis man would go back to the safety of his home, full and happy. He would think about the day's good activities and come up with new ways to make tools or find new places to gather food. After more than 1,000,000 years, the Homo habilis man changed into the Homo erectus. The Homo erectus man was bigger and stronger, and his brain was about 900 cubic centimeters on average. Because Homo erectus was bigger and stood up straighter, they were able to travel long distances and leave Africa for other parts of the world. When it came to making tools, Homo erectus made better ones. Hand axes and other more complex tools were made. Homo erectus was very good at hunting, gathering, and cutting up meat thanks to this improvement in making tools. Another big difference is how they act and how their culture affects them. Homo habilis probably lived in small groups or tribes. Homo erectus, on the other hand, is thought to have lived in bigger groups with more complex social structures. Homo erectus would also manage fire, which kept them warm, protected them, and let them cook food, which allowed them to eat more calories and possibly digest them better. Because of these traits, Homo erectus were able to live outside of Africa, in Asia and Europe. This growth into new areas is seen as a big accomplishment because it shows that Homo erectus was able to change and live in a variety of temperatures. The Homo erectus man needed his companions to help him survive. They would embark on hunting trips together with a goal to get food. They would pursue animals while carrying sharpened wooden spears, demonstrating their strength and ability to work together. They were able to consume the flesh of animals such as deer, wild boar, and also the occasional mammoth, since their hunting tools were superior. They were skilled hunters who understood how to pick out weak or injured prey in order to maximize their chances of success. They continued to search despite the fact it was difficult. They would go out and collect a wide variety of edible plants, fruits, and vegetables, and nuts from the adjacent fields, woodlands, and riverbanks. The Homo erectus man was quite skilled in identifying foods, and he would impart his knowledge to his group to ensure they didn't consume anything poisonous. Mealtime continued to be a time for him as well as his friends to congregate. They would recount tales of their journeys while they cooked meat that they just caught over a campfire. They would now season their meals with wild herbs and spices, which improved the flavor. After Homo erectus, a variety of hominin species appeared and coexisted. There were several additional human species after Homo erectus that were significant to science. This included Homo sapiens, Denisovans, and Neanderthals. Both Neanderthals and today's humans are believed to have been descended from Homo heidelbergensis. They existed about 700,000 and 200,000 years before in Africa, Europe, and maybe Asia. From around 400,000 to 40,000 years ago, a group of individuals known as Homo neanderthalensis inhabited Europe and certain regions of Asia. They were well suited to surviving in cold climates and were long-lasting. The majority of what we know about the Denisovans, a new type of human, comes from DNA extracted from a finger bone discovered in the Denisova cave in Siberia, Russia. They coexisted with Neanderthals in Asia at a comparable period. Homo sapiens are the people we know today. Our ancestors first showed up in Africa about 300,000 years ago. Over time, they spread around the world and replaced or mixed with other human species, such as Neanderthals and Denisovans. Their tool-making skills got better and more varied, and they made beautifully crafted tools and specialized hunting gear. Eventually, they came up with the more complicated technologies like farming and metalworking. In addition to complex language, symbolic thought, abstract reasoning, and the ability to create and come up with new ideas in many areas of life. Homo sapiens has very advanced cognitive skills. Because of this, he was able to create complicated social systems, such as larger societies, cultural practices, and advanced social groups. Their hunting methods changed as the environment changed, and big game became less common. They also found new ways to get food. They hunted smaller animals like deer, rabbits, and birds and made better tools for the hunt, like bows and arrows. Gathering wild plant foods was still a big part of their diet, but they focused more on using resources that were in season. Homo sapiens kept a close eye on how the environment changed because they were always good at noticing things. He saw that big game was getting harder to find and knew that focusing on smaller game like deer, mice, and birds would be very important for their survival. He set out with a steadfast desire to make better hunting tools that would help him and his tribesmen in their search. Humans became great craftsmen because they were driven by their ideas. Homo sapiens worked very carefully to make bows and arrows, getting ideas from the tough tree stems and the power of strong animals. He tried out different kinds of materials because he was always looking for ways to get better aim and range. Because he worked hard and was creative, he became a real hunting master. It is likely that people started eating internal organs or offal in the Mesolithic period. Offal includes the internal organs and other parts of an animal that aren't usually used as main cuts of the meat. Offal was a good source of nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and fats that were needed to stay alive in these harsh settings. There isn't a lot of direct proof that people during these times ate offal, but historical studies have given us some ideas. Animal fossils found at archaeological sites often have signs of having been butchered, which shows that early humans were good at handling and eating different parts of the animal, including the offal. Also, studying tooth plaque in ancient human remains has found signs of plant fibers and other materials that are linked to a varied diet, which most likely included offal. Bone marrow was probably consumed by early humans throughout the Paleolithic and Mesolithic eras. Bone marrow is the soft, fatty substance found inside skeletal bones. For prehistoric humans, this would serve as a fantastic food source. It is a fantastic food source in areas where other foods would not appear easy to get, since it is packed with healthful fats, proteins, and vital elements. Although there isn't much clear evidence that individuals consume bone marrow in those days, historical research has offered us some theories. Ancient bones of animals that have been petrified and discovered often exhibit indications of fracture. This demonstrates how early people were skilled at accessing the marrow found within bones. Additionally, hammerstones and anvils from the past have been discovered with wear patterns that correspond to the extraction of bone marrow. These implements may have been used in order to crack open bones and extract the nutritious marrow from them. One important change that happened during the Mesolithic time was a change in how people lived. Even though hunting was still important, Mesolithic groups relied more on fishing, gathering, and the first forms of farming. These people used the many things that were around them, such as the animals, plants, and water life. Seaweed consumption likely began in the Mesolithic era, when people of the Stone Age first appeared. Along the beaches, seaweed is a plentiful plant that has a wealth of minerals, vitamins, and fiber. Seaweed was a convenient food source for early inhabitants of areas with access to the sea or other bodies of water. There is speculation that several types of seaweed were harvested and consumed by hunter-gatherer people who lived near the shore. Because organic materials degrade over time, there isn't much direct evidence that humans consumed seaweed throughout the Paleolithic and Mesolithic periods. However, historical research has provided us with some knowledge. Fossilized seaweed has been discovered at certain ancient coastal locations, suggesting that people formerly used it as a part of their diet. Seaweed strands still linked to ancient bone or shell fishing hooks have also been discovered. This implies that seaweed may have been used while fishing as bait or an additional food source. The Neolithic movement started when the Mesolithic period drew to a close. At this period, humans were gradually setting in agriculture communities and domesticating various animals and plants. People had to eat substantially differently since farming had begun to replace hunting and gathering at this period. Our predecessors were the first to domesticate plants such as grains, such as wheat, barley, and rice, and legumes such as peas and beans. Pigs, horses, sheep, and goats were also domesticated and maintained as pets. They supplied a consistent flow of dairy products, meat, and other animal goods. The Neolithic period, sometimes known as the New Stone Age, is when humans first began farming, domesticated animals, and created permanent settlements. It was a significant shift in human history. However, it is believed that the Fertile Crescent, which encompasses portions of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine, is where it all began. Other continents, including Asia, Africa, the Americas, and Europe gradually adopted the Neolithic way of life. The Natufians, Jamon, Yangshao, and Vinna all existed throughout the Neolithic era, with the Natufians residing in the Levant, Jamon in Japan, Yangshao in China, and Vinna in Europe. New instruments emerged to assist as farming and keeping animals as pets grew increasingly widespread. People were able to store additional food, cultivate crops more effectively, and trade with others thanks to the creation of tools like sickles, plows, and pots. During this period, irrigation systems were widely used to regulate water flow and boost agricultural productivity. When humans began farming, there were significant changes in both culture and economy. When there was surplus food, people could live in larger groupings and specialize in various occupations and duties. During this period, people transitioned from being nomadic hunter-gatherers to settling in stable agricultural communities. After farming was established, people had to preserve excess food for later use. They used a variety of techniques to preserve food, including heating, drying, fermenting, salting, and packing. Ancient peoples, including the Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, and Chinese, developed their own methods for preserving food. For instance, the Romans smoked and pickled many foods, while the Egyptians dried and salted fish to preserve its freshness. When metalworking was made possible, farming and preparing food became more productive. Crop cultivation became simpler, and new techniques for cooking food, such as milling grains into flour, were developed. Horse breeding and the development of wheeled vehicles altered how people moved around and conducted commerce, enabling them to exchange food and cultural experiences. The requirement for food rapidly rose as people transitioned from nomadic to urban lifestyles. The Bronze Age man now lives in a settlement in the midst of a lush, abundant region where farming was gaining in popularity. He was intrigued in how farming might function, so he spent the day tilling the soil, sowing seeds, and taking good care of the growing plants. They introduced new methods to their village as they gained experience in how to maximize the yields from each plant. People in the Bronze Age were not just concerned with farming. They saw that bronze, a special alloy of copper and tin, was becoming more popular for use in the production of tools and weapons. They were curious about the challenges that smelting and casting involve and eager to master the craft of dealing with metal. Their innovations were immensely helpful for construction, commerce, and defense, in addition to making farming simpler. As the settlement developed, it was evident that the community needed to handle its food. The Bronze Age population had easy access to a variety of cereals and was skilled at preparing nutritious meals with them. After harvesting the dried wheat and barley, they constructed simple mills to transform it into fine flour. With this significant advancement in food processing, meals not only tasted and felt better, but grains also lasted longer, ensuring that there was always food available. Many tools and weapons were fashioned of iron during the Iron Age, which followed the Bronze Age. As iron smithing techniques improved, tools and weapons became more durable and strong. The beginning of the Iron Age occurred at various dates and places throughout the globe. Over many hundred years, the transition from Bronze Age took place gradually. During the Iron Age, which spanned from around 1200 BC to 600 BC, people's meals varied according to their location, culture, and social status. Although there are few written records from that era, historical evidence provides some information regarding the diets of Iron Age communities. In Iron Age communities, agriculture was crucial. People raised a variety of foods, including the daily staples of wheat, barley, and oats. They also cultivated legumes, such as beans and peas. These plants were used by people to make bread, porridge, and other grain-based meals. People raised cattle, sheep, pigs, and chickens for their meat, milk, and other products, as well as maintained them as pets. Animal farming was a significant source of calories, fat, and other nutrients. Many people consumed dairy foods like cheese, butter, and other dairy products, as well as meat. However, it may not have been as common for most people as plant-based diets. In areas close to rivers, lakes, and the sea, fishing was a common method of obtaining food. Fish, crabs, and other aquatic creatures were all captured by people. Additionally, they caught wild animals like deer, boars, and rabbits to provide extra protein and diversity to their diet. People continued to harvest nuts, berries, fruits, and edible plants from the wild for their meals even throughout the Iron Age. Their meals thus had more proteins and flavors. In order to maintain a consistent supply of food throughout the year, Iron Age communities developed a variety of techniques for keeping food fresh. When food was limited, it was crucial to them to preserve meat, fish, fruits, and vegetables using techniques including burning, drying, salting, and fermenting. Even though the Iron Age is long gone, its tales and concepts continue to captivate and motivate us. Every chapter of history is like a page-turning book. It's packed full of intrigue, triumph, and even tragedy. It serves as a reminder that human history is a complex fabric made up of many diverse strands. The present is shaped by the past, while the future is yet a blank page. But hey, did our ancestors practice cannibalism back in the Stone Age? Did they really eat each other, and how?